Speaking of resets, you're from Illinois, right?
Yes.
Illinois' new Safety Act.
Yeah, okay? Funny name, huh?
Where you can't even protect your own property. You know, trespassers can come in and camp on your property, on your front porch, and the police will not do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on? They're attacking property rights, values across the board in Illinois.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. See, this is a good point. The Safety Act. You heard about this? They're saying, as you said, the police won't respond to trespassers on your property, and they're going to eliminate cash bail for most criminal offenders.
Murder. Even murder.
Okay, but you guys realize you're talking to a guy who's from California.
You're like, hold my beer. Chicago.
I mean, you want me to?
It's already happened here, huh?
I mean, I can go on and on.
You're like, oh, the good old days. Don't let them do it to you too.
But this is another example. You're talking. This is Chicago and the suburbs dictating to the rest of the state.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I always tell the story about people who haven't been to California recently. You see the pictures of the homeless, you see the pictures of the nuttiness in San Francisco, and you see the pictures in LA and all the popular places. But those places have always had homeless people. It's just that they're 10 or 15x. Where you didn't have homeless people were in the rest of the state. Or if you did, they were kind of your traditional hobo. Kind of, you have onesies, twosies, five, maybe.
Well, let's real quick. Let's break this down. Hobo means homeward bound, and it's a reference to people moving. And
right.
So that makes us be sleeping outside, but they're leaving. Vagrants, I think, are just derelict individuals who mill about. Vagabonds are travelers, and then a bum, I think, is somebody who doesn't work. So we got to make sure we get those terms right.
Right, but that's traditionally what you had.
Hobos. But
you just had a few of each one of that category. You just said, like in my home city, 65,000 people. And, you just have a handful of people. And, the police go out there, work with them, and churches would take care of them. And so I always tell people this. It was not that long ago. I think it was 2015. I have a church across the street from my house. And there were 2 homeless people that started living out there. But that was it. There was in the whole city, that was the only ones. I mean, there were a handful of others that people were in and out of homes. There was places that they could get to. And I remember all my neighbors saying, "Oh my God, these people are living right there across the street." And people were shocked. And they went to the church and said, "Look, you can't have these people living across the street." And the church says, "Well, we're a home for, we're a church, so we got to, help these people." Well, then the 2 turned into 6 and the 6 turned into 12. And then the church said, "No solicitation, so homeless people were gone from the church. But they didn't go very far. And now in my home city, 65,000 people, what started with just a handful of homeless, okay, we now have estimated somewhere between 500 and 700 in my home city.
Wow.
But that's in every single city across California. So I call it's like zombie apocalypse. We are welcoming all these people here. They have their own governments. And so it's like Stockholm syndrome, right? I remember how I just gave the story. 2015, everybody's, "Oh my God, there's 2 homeless people across the street." To now, there's zombies everywhere and nobody does anything. I mean, I've got literally a football field away from me, where I live, we've got a whole homeless encampment. I mean, I can't, my kids, my girls can't walk over to the little mini market because they got to go through a homeless camp.
So I made this point, I think it was Memorial Day. We went to the movies, and there was not a soul in sight. The movie theater was empty. The arcade machines had been removed from it. This is a big shopping center in Frederick. And I'm walking around, and I'm looking around. I'm like, where are the people? Nobody's here. Nobody's out. There's a pool hall. It's empty. Where'd everybody go? There's an ice cream shop. Closed. And it said, "We're closed due to short staff." And I was like, where are the people? I recently went to... what city I can't remember the name of the city. I don't know. It's in West Virginia. And there's a diner at noon on a weekend saying closed due to...
Martinsburg.
Yeah. That's the one. Closed due to short staff. And then I was just like, where is everyone? And then Ian made a good point. And he goes, a lot of more homeless people popping up. And I was like, man, is that what's happening? People aren't working anywhere. They're losing their homes. They can't afford it anymore. And that's why the homeless population is increasing so much.
I think what at least what you see in California, and we're getting them from all over the country, and it's really sad because a lot of them are a product of methamphetamines.
Oh man, I started watching Breaking Bad.
Their minds
know all about it now. Yeah.
It's pretty bad. I mean, you feel bad because there's not really nothing. These people are never going to be able to function in life, and they just kind of follow. I hate calling them zombies, but I don't really know what else to call them. They just kind of follow, and they have leaders.
Meth heads.
And but a lot of them aren't even doing meth anymore, I don't think.
Crackheads.
Yeah, they're just gone.
Hunter Bidens.
Well, heroin, fentanyl, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We got a big problem across the whole country with this.
Well,
it's a plague.
Well, if you look at homelessness, a lot of it is usually correlated with not just drug addiction, but a mental health crisis. And I think that mental health crisis is getting worse and worse, especially by the numbers. When you look at depression, self-harm, suicide, those numbers have been going up dramatically. How do you deal with this type of situation? And, who do we blame? Do we blame Big Pharma for the opioid epidemic? Do we blame China for the fentanyl that makes it worse? Do we blame the fast food industry that's creating a poor mental health? Do we blame social media that's also creating poor mental health?
Do you blame legalization of marijuana across the whole country? Do you blame, you could go on down the list, but the drug use across the board contributes significantly to the mental health issues because it does create damage to the brain and the functioning of a good segment of that population.
Alcohol, though.
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol, I think, substantially worse than pot.
Yeah.
But prohibition didn't work. And we were like, let's repeal that amendment. That didn't make sense. It's funny that I'm surprised, learning about American history, that they were actually able to get a constitutional amendment just to get rid of alcohol.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think it's crazy that marijuana is still illegal in some states, but doctors could prescribe legalized heroin and get people addicted and hooked on for the rest of their lives. That's a problem right there that deserves to be called out. And yes, marijuana is being genetically engineered. There's a whole bunch of Frankenstein marijuana that's really bad, especially for children. But we can't start with prohibition. It never worked. It never has worked. But there is something to say about how society has failed most people, and most people are now becoming homeless or poor more than ever.
Yeah, I think what you say, I mean, all of these issues that we're talking about, all of them to some degree matter. But the challenge that we have in California is that, I always tell people, stop, if you don't want bears, stop feeding the bears. Right? I mean, you have to admit you have a problem and stop. And we're getting more and more and more of them. And there's so many things that have to be done to handle the problem. But it is, I mean, look, every time I get on a plane, when I left California the other day, before I got stuck in Dallas and then teleported to the secret meeting with President Trump at the golf course, before all that.
It could have been your evil twin, though.
Could have been.
Or good twin. Are you the evil one? But continue.
But every time I fly, I get, you used to be my congressman back in the day, but I left to Texas like 5 years ago or 3 years ago. I mean, every time it's people that still have business in California or whatever, but they've moved their headquarters to a different state.
Wow.
Well, the exodus is happening in Illinois too.
Maybe it's a self-correcting problem. You let them run amok and go crazy for long enough, and people are just going to be like, I'm out.
How long before Illinois goes bankrupt?
I don't know. How long?
I mean, can the state go bankrupt?
Biden will give them money. He'll find a way. They'll find a way to just pump money into the system and keep the zombie state hopping along.
Well, remember in California, we're going to be all green, right? Yet we're not building any new ways to produce power en masse. In fact, we shut down a nuclear power plant. We were talking about nuclear a few minutes ago. And then we were going to shut down our last 2 reactors that are still supplying 10% of our power. So I don't know if everybody's paying attention, but you couldn't charge your car the other night. If you were in California, you had to, and the governor sent a message to everybody's phone saying, turn off your power now.
Did you see in Colorado when the thermostats couldn't be changed?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Energy crisis, your thermostat's stuck at 78.
Well, that's if you sign up for that program, right?
But this is the thing. They come to you and they say, do you want to sign up for our Smart Saver program? It's $100 off your bill per year. Sure.
Sounds good.
All right, have a nice day. And then all of a sudden you can't change your thermostat. It's not like people knew they were signing up for that.
Yeah. But now they until they feel pain. So now Newsom wants to run for president. He feels pain. We're on the verge of blackouts all the time. And it's not just because of, everybody say, oh my God, it's global warming. It's like, no, you idiots. It always gets hot in California during the summer. I mean, it's not unusual for there to be, big spikes in temperatures.
It doesn't happen in Florida.
I'll tell you, you know what it is? I remember,
You're right, it doesn't.
I was in California during the drought in like 2015, and ain't nobody stopped shouting. They were like, everybody, you got to limit your water use. And I knew people who were like, yeah, but not me. And that was the mentality of almost every single person. They were all running their long, hot showers being like, I don't care.
Yeah, but the drought is, now you're getting into my wheelhouse now. It's how I actually got in politics, was because of this crazy water issue. So you realize that like LA, San Francisco is actually a desert. Nobody thinks of it as a desert.
San Francisco.
San Francisco is a desert.
But what, the Delta water is what keeps it alive?
No. What keeps it alive actually was the founding fathers of the city realized they needed some really fresh, good, clean water. They went into Yosemite National Park, dammed up a valley, not as big as Yosemite Valley, but one that was a small mirror image of it just over the mountain range. They dammed it up. It's a dam called Hetch Hetchy. They dammed it up. They piped the water.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
Hetch Hetchy. H-E-T-C-H.
Easy enough.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, Hetch Hetchy. Yeah,
Yep.
let's pull up the map.
Oh,
Continue.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you keep that map up, so back in around the turn of the century, I'm talking about 1900 now, the city of San Francisco figured out, hell, we don't have any water here. We got to do something because you can't drink the salt water in the bay, right?
Yeah.
So they built that dam, created that lake, and they piped the water all the way over to San Francisco. All right? That's where San Francisco gets its water.
Wow.
Now, as the rest of the state developed, all these water projects were built, and there's actually plenty of water in the state. You just have to move it around. You have to keep it in the wet years, and you have to move it around because it's not uncommon for California to go through. Everybody says, like you said, there was a drought in 15.
Yeah.
We have droughts like all the time. Like
It's a desert.
You have a
LA's a desert.
Yeah, you'll have 2 wet years. You'll have 4 dry years. You have 1 wet year. But my point to say all this is that this is a man-made created crisis. Like the people of California knew that, like when we had people with brains, they knew, hey, we better build some nuclear power plants. If we're going to have 40 million people living here, we better build nuclear power plants. Clean, easy, they work. And in fact, what I was saying about Payne, Newsom now, after Republicans, the few Republicans that are left, including our delegation, said, idiot, you're going to run the state out of power. He finally acquiesced and said, I'm going to come in and save the nuclear power plant. Not talking about how he was the one that was going to shut it down in the first place. And the same thing is water. Until people run out of water, and to what you said, Tim, that like they actually don't have any water coming out of the tap,
I've seen it.
there won't be any pain. Nobody will pay the price, and they won't change their methods of operation.
They just leave.
Well, the conservative people leave.
Well, everybody does, even the liberal people. The liberal people vote for policies and vote for people like Newsom, burn it to the ground, and then go, this sucks, I'm leaving.
I'm going to Montana. I'm going to Utah.
Colorado.
Then they bring their policies with them.
Yeah.
And then it happens all over again. It's a cultural problem. A lot of this, everything I think we're facing is all cultural issues. There is a sect of people right now, and it's mostly the Democrats, the Biden supporters. They only care about saying what is socially acceptable. So, of course, they repeat what they see on TV. They believe every single hoax. And they vote for policies that destroy everything. So long as the mob, they agree with the mob, they're content to just watch everything burn. These people, I feel like they've always been here. They've always been around. But with social media, they've been trapped in a spiral where they're all just chasing each other. It's a Mexican standoff of cancel culture. So you have people who are brave enough to be like, I don't agree with that. I'm not going to agree with that. And then they get mad at you saying, you're not agreeing with the consensus reality. So you're a bad guy.
You're an extremist.
Exactly.
That's the White House. You're an extremist.
So what ends up happening is they say, the acceptable thing is that nuclear power is bad. The acceptable thing is that coal power plants are bad. Then you end up with no power. Doesn't matter. They said right thing. Good thing was said, therefore we good. Then the grid collapses, everyone suffers, and they flee to your state, and they say the same exact things, one by one, just gutting and destroying. That's what I'm worried about with Texas. Look, mad respect to Joe Rogan. He recently said, vote Republican. Did you guys hear this? Mm-hmm. When they were like, what do you tell these people whose businesses were shut down? And he's like, vote Republican, and they laugh. And people point out it's good that Joe moved to Texas, because he opposes that stuff. But what people don't understand is that Joe is surrounded by wealth and industry. And the people who will follow him for him and not for politics or for political reasons are going to bring liberal policies. Elon Musk brings the Gigafactory to Austin. And everyone's like, oh, that's great. Elon Musk, he's fleeing California. Woohoo. And it's like, and all of the people who lived in California working for him, 2-1, it's Democrats. It's liberal voters coming to Texas. Now, I think there still is good news because it seems like more anti-woke, anti-cult people are moving to Texas, and it's going to help keep the state red. And you have the Rio Grande Valley, which has turned red. So I think it'll be okay,
Well,
and then we'll actually dilute the cults.
That was one of the things I was going to. I think the Mexican vote in this country, and I specifically say, you could actually use the larger term Hispanic, but it's really the Mexican vote that's in Texas and California, Arizona, those places. If that vote actually begins to shift, and it doesn't have to shift very much, and if you remember in 2016 when Trump won, remember the fake news had created this whole narrative that Trump was going to, get rid of all the Hispanics. They were all going to be kicked out of the country. Remember that?
Yeah, but he posted a taco bowl picture. I didn't believe it for a second.
Well, but a lot of people did. I mean, it was kind of a hard time because I felt bad, like small kids that my wife's a school teacher. And I remember hearing the stories about little kids who actually thought that they were going to, that Trump was like going to come and, get them and send them back, even though they were born in the United States. But that's the kind of damage you talk about that this can do to young people, and they get these images. But do you know that in the only growth area that I saw in the electorate in California in 18 and in 20 was with Mexican American voters? If you were a working Mexican American, those people, and actually working anyone,
they're moving Republican.
They're shifting, not quickly, but they're shifting. We saw it on the Rio Grande Valley. Where you're not shifting, anybody who's college educated, doesn't matter what color, what letter you use, as your pronouns, you are going to be, you're shifting left.
Well, one of the things on the exodus, the governor of New York says, hey, Republicans, leave New York. Get out of here. We don't want you here.
Yeah, that was amazing.
In Florida, there's now an 800,000 Republican voter advantage, and it used to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, us and Rumble, we're in Sarasota, Florida, the new free speech capital. Truth Social's in Florida, Sarasota, so is Rumble. Timcast should move down to Sarasota, Florida.
That's what I've been telling Tim. I
Weather's-
visited Sarasota. I visited the headquarters in Rumble at Rumble. I was like, "This is a great place, Tim. We gotta
All
go.
right,
We gotta
all right,
come,
you know.
come to
Yeah, you
Florida."
guys should move there.
We'll need a.
That'd be fun. Then I could come on the show all the time.
Yeah.
We would need if the city can provide some kind of like grant so that we can relocate 30 plus employees and build new infrastructure. We otherwise
And
couldn't
tax
afford it.
incentives. We'll just talk to Ron. He'll be like, "Hey, Ron, hook it up." DeSantis.
The weather, man. This is the problem.
It's
I
not
talk to
that
people-
bad.
Oh,
It's
I
not
lived in
that
Miami.
bad.
I lived in the Redlands.
No income
you-
tax.
You lived in the
no
Redlands.
individual income tax.
Yes, you live deep inside of the thing. You got to be by the beach where the breeze is. It's cool. It's fun. It's
Hey,
great.
It's 100
awesome.
degrees with maximum humidity
You're
all the time.
No.
Miami,
Air
yes.
conditioning.
I thought this.
Sarasota's beautiful. I loved it there.
I thought the same thing. So, when I was in DC, California gets hot where I'm from. I'm from the big agricultural valley. And I mean, we're getting 105, we got 111 the other day. But I've never been hotter outside of when I was in Iraq a few times, which Colonel Harvey lived there for 5 or 6 years. So he can tell can tell you about real hot. But in DC, I mean, if it would be in the 90s, 95 with that nasty humidity with no breeze, and that's what you'll see sometimes in Miami. But you're exactly right. I just think I've been shocked at how even when I thought, oh man, the humidity's gonna suck in Sarasota, but there's always like this breeze that comes off the Gulf.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm a big.
We
Florida
shouldn't
man.
be talking about Sarasota because we're going to have too
It's
many
terrible.
people. Too many people are going to move.
Right.
And
to
they're
Sarasota.
already moving in. I talked to some locals that live there. They're like, everyone's moving in. Everyone's taking all the properties. All these damn yuppies are coming in here.
Hey, I'll tell you what. We'll build you a studio in our office.
Okay. Every
So
state.
the,
Go ahead.
the average high in January is 72.
Oh, nice.
That's perfect.
The average high in April and May is 82, then 87, 90 in June, 91 in July, 91 in August,
Sounds like
90
Colorado.
in September, 86 in August.
That's not that different than here.
That's
actually not.
very
Not
different
that
from here. The average high in January here is like 35.
I'm a big Florida man. I love Florida. I'm very biased in my love affair.
And
with
Why
look,
don't you?
politically, I like Florida.
Why don't you do? I'm just.
Well,
we're
it's a
just, we're
purple
just throwing
state.
stuff at the wall. This is
It's a battleground
idea.
state. It's
A
a
winter-
purple
you're saying-
state.
you're
It
saying-
could go either way. We need all the resources down in
Saying
Florida.
We should build a winter cast castle.
Exactly.
So just in
Yes.
Yes.
October. So in was it? Oh, I don't even have December pulled up.
I can teleport, but you can mind read.
Yeah, well,
That's
there you go.
exactly what I was
So
going to say.
November
Yeah.
to February is we're based in Florida, and then we come back.
Exactly. And then you
Nah.
detoxify.
I
you
like
sweat out all
snowboarding.
the toxins from your body. And then
I
Sweat it
sweat
out,
every
huh?
single day skating. Luke, we're skating out there today, all right? And I'm covered in sweat, and Luke's sitting there hunched over eating a stromboli with pepperoni.
I was doing pull-ups right before that. All right. I did a little
Okay.
working out today, so I'm really
He came
proud of
out
that.
with a balance board And then he pulled out a Stromboli and just slouched it down and was like...
And I was working out in the gym. You can check the surveillance cameras. Anyway, not going too personal because we got to do super chats really. And I
This
really...
guy, we're 3 minutes away from super
And I
chats.
wanted to ask you so many questions. I have like a list of questions I really want to ask you. But just
you got to go to Sarasota, and then we'll just do it from there.
Right here, right now. I really want to talk about the Intelligence Committee because I hear so many rumors just about being a part of this kind of committee. I'm hearing about people being scared of losing their clearances. I heard even Dianne Feinstein in 2014 talked about how the CIA was spying on this committee. How was it, being a part of this committee? What was going on? Can you tell us your experiences? Were you being spied on? What was going on the inside?
I actually had I'm probably the only person, or very few people on the planet who can actually say this. I went from the very best job in the world, and within a matter of just a few months, to the very worst job in the world. Okay, so I was having, it was tough work, but it was rewarding work. You get to work with patriots like Colonel Harvey. A lot of the folks I worked with, it was very bipartisan. You never heard from the House Intelligence Committee until until you got to the point of, if there was a terrorist attack or some international issue, because people didn't even really want to serve on the Intelligence Committee because it was hard work. You had to do a lot. If you actually took it seriously, you had to do a lot of travel. It wasn't to great places, except when Harvey and I were in Vienna that one time.
Yeah.
But then overnight, Trump wins, and then they turn it into that, everybody's a Russian agent, everybody's Russian disinformation. So it went from the best job to the worst job. I mean, I went under, because I had to sit there and take all their bullshit for year after year. I mean, look, I'm not even in Congress anymore. And I mean, look, they're still attacking, my former staff. I mean, Kash Patel, they put him in a damn warrant the other day with his, that story that we were talking about Breitbart.
Was he subpoenaed?
The Breitbart story that he was in. So,
well, yeah.
and there's still, every day this it's like this.
They put you in a story about a secret meeting with Donald Trump on a golf course.
Yeah.
Was there any more retribution that you faced for speaking out against what you knew was wrong and what you were right all along about?
Look, there's still, you have, look, this is, I was getting, why did I leave Congress? It's because the free flow of information, the internet is shut down. We're trying to create a beachhead to open it back up. It's that simple. And the way that I realized it is after the 2020 election, I thought to myself, after, Parler got canceled and all that we talked about earlier. But another important point is, how could it be that you still had over half of America at that point, according to polls that I'd seen right after the election, that believed that Trump and Republicans had something to do with Russia? They don't know what, but they had something to do with Russia. And that's when I said, oh my God, how did this happen? I spent 4 years debunking this whole damn thing. It's a total hoax. And you still had half of America who didn't know about it and who believed it.
And the Hunter Biden story was censored.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you were a part of the committee that you were able to get information about that you knew everyone else was wrong about, other than just the whole Russian gate?
Well, other than Harvey.
China. We were doing a lot on China, identifying what China was doing in technology, espionage, pushing that China was a real threat, and that was before Trump.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.